we go.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award. 2020 Innovation Award, Best Innovation Award. No, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We are broadcasting on Black Canada Talking live on October 15th. Black Canada Talking is a place where Black Canadians get a chance to express their points and POVs on stories that have importance to them and globally too, and also gives us a chance to spotlight on Black Canadians. We'll have our partner, our good friend, Cesar Ndema-Moussa, up in just a second, but a few things housekeeping wise. First of all, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so you get notified of epic conversations that I host. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Next up, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of my platforms, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And now, some program alerts. If you're watching this on or before October 16th at 9 a.m., you'll be able to catch, if you are around your podcasting channels or vidcasting channels, I like to say, Carolyn Nicole from Energy Juice Snack Bar will be on my Monday and Friday 9 a.m. Eastern Time program called The Morning Vibe, which I co-host with Ryan O'Neill Knight of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. And she's going to be talking about the diabetic pandemic, something that is inflicting many, many Black families, not only in Canada, but around the world. So that's why you need to notify and check out conversations like this. At least follow, because if you don't catch it live, you can catch it on the replay. Then next up, coming up on October 18th from 5:02 p.m. to 8:02 p.m., the Brand Sponsorship Summit being hosted by Mario Armstrong. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put up a shared screen so you get a quick look at this event. So we're going to do a shared screen here, and you'll get a chance. If you ever thought about sponsorship or getting sponsorship, this is a place you got to be. So I'm just going to put it up on our screen right now, and there it is. So this is being hosted by Mario Armstrong. You may not know who he is, but I'll tell you in just a moment. But let's tell you that during this time, 5:02 p.m. Eastern to 8:02 p.m. Eastern on October 18th, you'll hear directly from brand executives, agencies, PR execs who hold the keys to brand deals. It's a virtual 3-hour conference for creators, coaches, podcasters, YouTubers, event organizers, influence authors, and experts with small niche audiences. And it's going to feature brands, because I'm not a player, brands, PR execs, and agencies who hire creators. Again, when you go to this link, getsponsorshipmoney.com/brand sponsorship summit, you're going to be there. So as I said, $23.21 US. So you're looking about $30 Canadian if you're in Canada. And you'll get to hear representatives who have done business with Capital One, FedEx, Amazon, Whole Food Markets, Oriole, Marriott, Sandals, and more. So these are global brands. Not going to spend too much time on this, but just the host and creator of this, Mario Armstrong, who I'm blessed to be mentored by, has personally secured over $4 million in brand sponsorships from brands like Capital One, Ford, Wix, AT&T, Zenni, Target, and more. He's the founder of the Never Settle Academy, and some of the people that you'll see during the event. Casey Benedict, CEO and founder of Maverick Mindshare, and they help partners with brand managers and agency directors of global products. There's also Chiffon Myers. There's a wedding media company that hire influencers for travel and hospitality brands like Sandals Resorts and David Bridals. Amy K. Stratton, founder and CEO of Stratton and Company, a marketing and PR boutique agency who dealt with brands such as Laird's Superfood, Jamie Anderson, and Serena Poon. Jacques Bastien, who has a full service agency that's goal is to diversify influencer marketing, and his organization has done brands with the National Basketball Association, Crayola, and Kinky Curl. Sarah Doheny. Sarah Doheny. Let me get that right. She's a founder of her own firm, and it's a boutique public affairs firm that's been resolving challenges of their clients for over 15 years. Jetta Bates, who is a manager of Twist Global, and their agency hires micro and nano influencers for sponsorships for brands like Unilever, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Nielsen, Chrome Hearts, and Beam Suntory. And there you go. I found my way into this little event, and I'm I believe, going to be the only international representative, because most of the people you're going to see during this event visually on your screen or in your phone or on your laptop are from America. But there I am, and I've had now it's like a 3.5, 4-year brand relationship with Dove Men Plus Care. So high level, here's the schedule: keynotes, successful small following creators turning small into big. That's the panel I'll be on. Brands and PR exec panels inside the minds of decision makers. Fireside chat with an industry titan. There's a pitching session where some people who are part of the event will be able to pitch ideas, and judges will assess its potential for brand sponsorships. A Q&A session and a bonus VIP session. So that is it. If you want more info, I would highly suggest, if you are interested in things like this, get on Mario's Text VIP phone. Our number is 917-810-2347. That's 917-810-2347, and text the word VIP. So again, the tickets are $23.21 US, which is about $30 Canadian. Here's the key thing: there's only 125 seats available. That's it. That's all. All right. So just going to go back to the top. Brand Sponsorship Summit. All right. Enough with promos. Enough going on. So let's get our good friend on the stream, Cesar. So let me bring him up right now. Cesar, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Dr. Vibe. Thank you for having me. Thank you, family, for having me once again.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. How are you and the family doing?
We're good. Thank you. One day at a time, of course.
Good.
Cold weather coming, but,
yeah.
Canada, right?
We are in Canada, and I say world alert. There is a potential that myself and Cesar are going to finally meet face to face next Sunday. I'll probably be running a replay, unless if I do have a guest, but whether I have a guest or friend or not on the platform, even if it's for a few minutes, I will be meeting face to face Cesar and myself. So we'll make sure it gets documented. We're going to share the picture out to the family. So Cesar, I am excited about that event, and we're going to finally get a chance to meet after so many years.
Thank you, brother. Looking forward to it. I mean, it's hard for a lot of people to imagine that technically we're only 4 hours away.
Yeah.
I mean, out of you in Toronto, 4 hours and a half. But, this is what happens when two people, period, have very busy lives,
Yeah. Well, I would say for you and I, not busy, positive, productive lives.
I like that.
Busy to me is overrated. I like positive, productive. So looking forward to it next week. I see in the room Christopher Lawrence from Frequency Event Promotion says, greetings. And how are we doing? I can only speak for myself. I'm very blackalicious. I'm good. All right. Let's get to our first conversation piece today. And we'd probably be remorse if we didn't have Cesar's perspective on the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Cesar, go for it.
No, it's a topic a lot of people very truthfully, rightfully and truthfully, it's a complex topic. It's a topic that has people feel very passionate about it. But I myself have definitely been an advocate for free Palestine. not only online, but also notably in protests, such as when I gave the keynote speech for the Black Lives Matter protest in Ottawa in 2020. But at the same time, as well as I say this, I absolutely support a two-state solution, aka a political solution to this conflict. So I can go on about the conflict, but I want to make sure that something is heard first and foremost. People, including Black people, are being asked and notably being expected to be pro-Palestine, but at the same time, if we dare to be truthful, and everybody knows that do talk about religion as a cancer in the Black community, every Sunday we have millions upon millions of Black people being reinforced with the logic of supporting Israel in the name of Jesus Christ and the Bible says. Meanwhile, on Fridays, we have millions of Black people basically being indoctrinated to be pro-Palestine in the name of Islam and the Quran. I am pro-Black. Pro-Black is why we have to be first and foremost. Pro-Black is why we have to be because before I delve into that conflict, we have to be honest with ourselves. Palestinians and Israelis are not seen protesting for Haiti, for Congo, for African Americans, for African Brazilians, for Australia's Black Indigenous, even for Muslims in Somalia or Nigeria. They're not, and you know what? They're all right. I don't blame them for not doing it. They have their own conflict, which is where they're putting all the energy, all the emotions. So yeah, some people would tell me about how they were like Palestinians supporting for protesting for George Floyd and against police brutality in the U.S. But please, if so many of American police were not trained by Israeli police officers who get training on Palestinians, would they be protesting? It's personal interest. In the same way, when we talk about Israel, absolutely, there will be some Black people who will say, oh, well, Jewish communities or Jewish people have contributed to the slave trade. And I will say some Jewish people have done it. But there's been even more Jewish people who have literally contributed along Black people to fighting for civil rights. There is that famous photo of a brother, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, walking with the rabbi Michelle back in the 60s for civil rights. But at the same time, Brother Martin Luther King, just as Brother Malcolm X, were adamant in opposing the state of Israel behavior towards the Palestinian in the notion of opposing colonization and opposing white supremacy. So if we are to be honest, absolutely, we cannot, as Black people, support colonization. So one would hear that and think that makes us pro-Palestine. But at the same time, we have to remember the reason why there is a modern state of Israel, which is, yes, a Western creation following the Shoah, the Holocaust of Jewish people during World War II. So where does that basically put us as Black people? Well, let me give some perspective here. We hear a lot about this conflict, and I will say rightfully so. What Hamas has done last week is absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Whether or not you believe some babies were decapitated, and FYI, even CNN backtracked on those stories, just as Joe Biden said, couldn't confirm it. But still, it's terrible. However, we cannot be outraged at what Hamas has done last week if we are not also outraged at not only what Israel is doing right now in Gaza, but also as reprisal, as revenge, no matter how you want to put it, but also at what he has been doing in terms of colonization and, the ongoing erasure of the possibility of a Palestinian state. But as much I can talk a lot about it, let me go back to being pro-Black, because this is Black Canada talking. This is me, a Pan-Africanist. Go find me a pan-Arabist or pan-Islamist who will be talking about the issues of Congo. Go find me a Zionist, a Jewish and proud person who will be passionately talking and knowingly talking about the issues of Haiti or of African Americans. Very likely you won't find them. And rightfully so. It's not the people. But here we are as Black people. So many of us are there caring, outpouring emotions for the causes of others. Floyd Mayweather putting out private jets for the Israeli army. What was Money Mayweather for the people of Congo? You know Congo?
Well, let alone maybe even the people of Black America. But continue.
I mean, I'm going to Congo. It's right there, Black America. Money Mayweather wants to make sure that he's seen helping the people, the good people of Israel. And there's a lot of good people. I know a lot of good people, Jewish people. I've gone to the Jewish Community Center here in Ottawa, Solway. I've been well treated. But let's be real. Where's Money Mayweather for the people in Congo? 6.9 million dead. I'm not talking about a couple of hundreds or thousands. 6.9 million dead people, the lowest number since 1997. Haiti right now. Is it Usher who put something on Instagram in terms of his support for, Israel and how terrible and tragic it is? What was Usher's voice for the people of Gaza, for the West Bank? But especially, where's Usher for the people in Haiti? Where's Usher for the Afro-Brazilians? Afro-Brazilians will, by the way, suffer a worse fate than African Americans. For those who want to make comparisons, the fate of African Brazilians is worse than the fate of African Americans. Professor Henry Louis Gates, the senior expert on U.S. slavery, shed tears when he was in Brazil at realizing how much worse it was. So even when I look at some of our respected and esteemed brothers in academia, and I'll give the names of two that I think pretty much everybody knows, Professor Cornel West and Professor Mark Lamont Hill, two brothers that I respect. But I want to tell them, and we can have a debate here, I am totally welcome anyone, Dr. Vibe, anyone who sets this up to have this conversation with them. Stop telling Black people to be pro-Palestinian when you're not going there telling Palestinians to protest and to be pro-Black. Even though in the 70s, the Black Panther movement did influence the Palestinian resistance. There was Black Panthers in Palestine. So yes, today people would tell me, oh, but Palestine had a statue of Nelson Mandela. So what? Once again, because Israeli officers, police officers notably, helped to train police officers in South Africa. Was the support genuine? When I say was the support genuine is there is anti-Black racism in Palestine. Why is it not being addressed? But you want to claim that you show support to African Americans, to Africans in South Africa? What about the racism in your own land from the descendants of the Arab Muslim slave trade? Even Dr. Umar Johnson recently has started to speak out against Black Muslims and the silence regarding the Arab slave trade. I was very proud to read the brother today. One of my friends sent me a link. And he was raised basically in the Black Muslim community. And he really explained how he came to detach himself out of it because of the alienation it is causing Black people to go identify as Arabs and as such to close their eyes to the reality of anti-Black racism in Muslim community and through history, but still ongoing, of the slave trade of Black people. Professor Cornel West, Professor Mark Lamont Hill, and even Ilhan Omar at the US Congress. Yes, I understand she's black, she's Muslim, she's veiled. So what? I refuse to be supporting the cause of people who don't truly support my cause as well. Because guess what happened? And I give a perfect example here with Professor Mark Lamont Hill. By being pro-Palestinian and speaking out, notably against Israel, they're exposing themselves to certain dangers. Meanwhile, we don't see those who are Palestinians or even Israeli speak up strongly in favor of black people and risk any consequences. Yes, there are some Jewish people who are absolutely pro-reparations. Absolutely, there are, and they notably state being pro-reparations with contrast to reparations for Jewish people. And I support those Jewish people. But they're not putting a risk on themselves. It's not coming with any risk to the careers. Mark Lamont Hill basically had to become a pariah in the US. That's why now he's on Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera from Qatar, that is understandably pro-Palestinian, understandably, and it's good. We do need a Palestinian perspective to the conflict because here in the Western world, we get so much of the Israeli perspective. So yes, thank you, Al Jazeera, for giving that Palestinian perspective. But this is also the same Al Jazeera that doesn't address anti-black racism in Muslim communities, in Muslim countries, that does not provide any content in terms of addressing religion and a critique of religion and culture, notably through the lens of race. To me, it's very problematic, and as such, I am telling our black people, dare to be pro-black before going to put a check mark on all those other identities that are just recruiting you by numbers. Right now in Senegal, in the mosque, we have Africans who are coming out there in support of Palestine, and yet a few months ago and last year, just as in Ivory Coast, when Africans were being killed over elections, you did not have Palestinians protesting for the dignity and their lives. Right now in Congo, just as in churches in Canada as the US, we are having black people having charlatans, pastors, and priests banging their mind with being pro-Israeli because of the return of Jesus Christ and other fairy tales. Meanwhile, what is the fate of African migrants in Israel?
Good
People
point.
don't want to hear this. And as I finish here, it's very important people understand this. I had the honor of being on a panel back in 2018 addressing racism, police brutality, and the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Yes, I did a great presentation that was very much appreciated on racism, equity, diversity, inclusivity, and leadership. But there was a Palestinian militant on that panel, a woman. After the panel, she took me to the side and she gave me some reality check, thanking me for supporting the cause of Palestine. But my great intelligence somehow had not connected certain dots, as she did remind me, as she made me fully aware, black people are victims of racism in Palestine and it's not addressed. Nobody dares to talk about it. The Arab Muslim slave trade of Africans is a taboo topic in Muslim communities. No one dares to truthfully talk about it. Unlike in the Western world where everybody talks very freely and well about European slavery and colonization. And at the same time, as she told me exactly what I said before, Palestinians and Israelis are not mobilizing for black causes. And truthfully, last thing she told me was someone like me will address systemic racism, will criticize the government, will addresses religion. So I think it's important for our people, our black people, to understand. Please do not fall into this Israel-Palestine divide. When you have Haiti, you have Congo, you have African Americans, Afro-Brazilians. Do we want to talk about Afro-Argentinians? We have the plight of so many black people. Australia's black indigenous dare to be pro-black because that is hard enough, and most people including black people, they don't even want to be that. Because those other people, those white people, no matter the skin tone, they don't want to be pro-black, and they're right. It's not the issues. So yes, me, that's a perspective I will give. It's a terrible conflict. It's very unfortunate. It's very complex. It's a story of colonization, but it's also a story of a people that was deported 2,000 years ago, and whose descendants have been brought back to the land to solve the so-called Jewish problem in Europe after World War II. It's very, very complex, politically, militarily, religiously, culturally, but first and foremost, let us dare to be pro-black, because I did put a post about it back in 2019 or 2020 or 2021, I think, telling black people, stop getting yourself divided over a conflict that doesn't concern you, for people who absolutely don't divide themselves over you. You could not imagine an Israeli or Palestinian family or community dividing itself over a cause that concerns black people. It's so yes.
So
Yes.
Cesar, have you, and thank you for your lens on that, have you had any conversations about the conflict with any black individuals? And if you have, what's the conversation like?
The current conflict since
Yes.
last week? Yes, I've had. Professionally, I had conversation with other equity, diversity, inclusion leads across the province. And following that, I issued a message across the province to remind institutions, notably child welfare agencies, but not just child welfare agencies, institutions in social services, to remind them, unless they have a cultural / religious denomination, they are there to serve everyone, and as such, not to fall into uh, kind of the pro-Israel or pro-Palestine conflict, but to be about pro-innocent lives. There are Palestinian victims, 100%. There are Israeli victims, 100%. In terms of other black people, it is the same message as I've said here. Haiti, Congo, African Americans, Afro-Brazilians, Black indigenous in Australia, anti-Black racism in the Western world, anti-Black racism in the Middle East, anti-Black racism in Asia. You don't see Palestinians and Israelis protesting against that. You don't see them risking their careers for the fate of Black people. And they are right not to. They are focusing on their issues, and I support them to focus on the issues. Israel is in a state of survival. Palestine is in a state of survival. Allow me as a black man to stand up for my people on the four corners of the world, at the same time that I can denounce the injustice of what happened last week towards innocent Israelis. I can also denounce what is happening right now towards innocent Palestinians. But first and foremost, I have to be pro-black. Because in Israel and Palestine, there are black people. There are black people. And they're also victims of systemic racism. Who's standing up for them? Who's remembering them? I mean, white people in Africa are not exactly suffering. They live very well. White people in Africa and the Caribbean and the French Caribbean, they live very well. They're not exactly protesting against the evil anti-white racism. It doesn't exist.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, I think, well, this escalation has been ongoing, and as Cesar said, if you haven't done some research on the background of this, you're not getting it. This has been a long journey for both sides.
It's a very complicated conflict.
Yes.
Where too comfortably people look at the last few years or the last few decades, but if we are to be honest, it's a conflict that goes back. I can literally give you the specific year. What's the specific year again? I think it's the year 69 or 70. So close to 2,000 years ago, when Jewish people from what was the Roman province of Palestina But that was the Roman name. That's not the Jewish name. That's not the indigenous name of the land. When they got deported to Rome. So you will find some people, notably black people, who will tell you Jewish people are not from there and all the original Jews were black and all that stuff. No, 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 no. Why Jewish people got deported to Rome? They got deported to Europe. That's why until the 1950s, 1960s, it's very important to understand what I'm going to say here. Until the 1950s, 1960s in Europe, the foreigner, the other, so otherness in Europe until the 1950s was the Jewish person. It was not the black person. It was not the Muslim, Arab, Northern African. It was the Jewish person. The Jewish person in the creation of the Western world / European world has been the other. When you think even about literary construction, the greatest English writer, William Shakespeare. Today, when we think about the ghetto, we think about black people. Look at how crazy that is. Ghetto was not associated to blackness until the 1960s. 500 years ago, when William Shakespeare wrote The Merchant of Venice, ghetto is the name of the Jewish quarter in Vienna. In Venice. That's where the name comes from. Ghetto, that was the name of the Jewish neighborhood in Venice. Jews were the other.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick little break. We've got 2 more conversation topics for Cesar to share at. So we would like you to say, hold tight. We're going to take a 90-second break, and Cesar will be back on Black Canada Talking. Keep it locked.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like, everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
Okay. Shout out to Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, supporters of the Dr. Vibe shows. And I'm supporters of theirs. And they have a big event coming up starting Thursday of week, the All Black National Convention down in Atlanta. Probably now it is probably sold out. And the nice thing about this event, it's totally Black supported. No government, no corporations, totally Black funded. It's a big event. I know another group is going to be having an event at the same location. So it's going to be a powerhouse. So I don't have the link with me right now, but just if you go to boycewatkins.com, you will find out more than enough information about this event. We are back with Cesar on Black Canada Talking today. And just want to hail up, if you want to get in contact with Cesar, there is his email address, president@rootsandculturecanada.com. You can also touch base with him via Facebook. So as we get into our next conversation topic, Cesar, I want to talk about the Pope says the church is open to everyone, including LGBT people, but there are rules. Cesar, take it away.
Yeah, I just find this interesting as I'm sorry, my light is going on and off here. Uh, I just find it interesting. Pope Francis, he's very much an interesting pope. I mean, we have to admit, uh, he is trying his best to keep his church credible, the Catholic Church, which, uh, for the sake of some of our black people, Catholics are Christian. Some black people like to think there's Christianity and there's Catholicism. No, Catholicism is part of the Christian religion, and actually, Catholicism is the number one denomination of the Christian religion, meaning there's more Catholic as a denomination than any other denomination in the Christian faith. Now, the reason I found this interesting is because this is something that will shock the Catholic / Vatican Church, but it's interesting to notice what's happening really underneath. What's happening really underneath is that, truth of the matter is this: Christianity survival is in south of the equator. It's in Brazil and particularly in Africa. In the Western world, since the early 60s, with the Council of Vatican II, notably the permission to conduct mass in local languages and the Bible being translated in local languages, along with the improvements of life, so science, technology, and women's liberation, etc., it has led to a strong diminution of church attendances and people claiming to be Christian, to be religious. So here, what we have here is what I've been telling people for many years now, which is there's nothing divine, there's nothing holy. It's an institution like any other that's trying to adapt to changing times in order to survive, in order to remain relevant. What people have to understand is that when you forbid business or you forbid practice or entrance to one LGBTQIA plus person, some people like to make fun calling them the rainbow community or the alphabet community, but when you refuse entrance to one person, that message also goes back to the families, to the circle of friends, and you lose more than just that one LGBTQIA plus person. So here we have a Vatican / Catholic Church that is adapting to its time, and the Pope, very pragmatic. He's a Jesuit. For those who do not know, priests and even pastors are not all of the same mold. Jesuits are considered the intellectuals of not just the Catholic denomination, but truly of the Christian church. And part of being the intellectuals that they're also pragmatic. The numbers are lowering, which also impact, of course, the revenues of the church. But at the same time, society as a whole has truly, truly, truly changed in the Western world. You will notice something interesting. And I denounced this, and I can't remember if it was a couple of shows prior. I denounced this hypocrisy when Pope Francis came to Canada last year. It was with great remorse and eventually kind of an apology and a rejection of the doctrine of discovery for indigenous of the Americas. When he went to Congo in Africa, it was like a rock star. It's not in Africa that Pope Francis would dare to tell the African masses that he will be open to including LGBTQIA plus people in the church. Because in Africa, the homophobia that is present in Africa strongly, pretty much only due to colonization and by Christianity and Islam, would basically make such a message impossible to pass. But it's in Europe that he will do it. In Europe, where there is such a strong decline in church attendance to the point that some churches are converted into nightclubs. Such a strong decline where there's basically also conversation about allowing priests to marry and also the ordination of women. These are things that Pope Francis would say to Africans, would say to Black people. He wouldn't go to Africa, to Kinshasa or Yamoussoukro, where there is a waste, a beautiful basilica built. You should check it out, Dr. Vibe. The basilica in Ivory Coast. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful basilica looking like St. Peter in Rome. Guess what you find half an hour to an hour driving from there? Poor Ivorians living in poverty.
Of course.
But there's a beautiful church that was built solely to impress Pope John Paul II by the former president dictator. So, this is just an adaptation. I need our Black people to understand that Christianity as Islam, Judaism as Hinduism, you name it, all of these religions that notably impact the lives of Black people. There are social constructions for power and within the culture of the people who invented them. Pope Francis makes sense. I'm a former Christian, a former Catholic. If I was still, I would be applauding him because this is part of the evolution of a church. This is part of a church that has evolved. You look at, for example, the Anglican Church, and Anglican Church is just Catholic Church, but the head, instead of being the Pope, is the King or Queen of England. That's, summarily put, that's the Church of England. Although some people will be very upset to hear this, but I'm ready to have that debate whenever they want regarding Henry VIII and the creation of the Church of England. So it's just an adaptation for that purpose. And I want our Black people to understand this fundamental shift brought forth by the Pope. It's not because he has suddenly become LGBTQ friendly or because he's 80 plus years old, he's becoming senile. No, it's about the survival of an institution. In the same sense as when we talk about evolution, a few years ago, was it 2012? I can't remember the specific year. Our Black Muslim brothers and sisters who will assure us there is no racism in Islam. In Saudi Arabia, when the king decided to appoint a Black imam, I think he was in Riyadh. Because I don't think he was in Mecca or Medina, Yathrib. I think it was in Riyadh when the king decided to put a Black imam. It was not well received at all. It was not well received. So that's all it is. That's why I just want to bring to the attention of our people. If this Pope lives a few more years, there will be more opening in terms of LGBTQIA plus people in the church. And who knows? Maybe a step forward towards ordination of women. Religion is about survival as an institution, and it will adapt.
I don't have anything to add on that because I think you covered it nicely. We got one more slated conversation topic, and I've slided one in our private conversation. I think that I'd like you to get your input on too. So I know time is always tight with you, so hopefully we'll get two more things done. So next up, and this just slid out. I just found out about this in the last hour or two, and I went, okay. And Cesar brought it to my attention also. Someone else did. Australians rejected a referendum on whether to recognize Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I had no idea about this was a referendum, but it was Australians rejected it. What do you say?
This is where I like to bring the perspective, and I've said this earlier about how Afro-Brazilians suffer more than African Americans. This is not about oppression Olympics, but this is to give perspectives. While civil rights began in the US, let's say 1955 as an official year, Afro-Brazilian civil rights truly began in the early 2000s with the election of President Luis Ignacio da Silva Lula. So understand that we are here in 2023. This is Black Canada. We have African Americans, we have Afro-Brazilians, we have Black people in Europe, in the Western world, such as in Great Britain. And in Australia, a referendum by 60%, 60%, has rejected recognizing, I don't like the term Aboriginal, has rejected recognizing Black Indigenous as people in the constitution of the nation. A nation that is a colonized construction since James Cook in the mid-18th century by Great Britain. A nation that basically got flooded with the rejects and the prisoners from England to be shipped away in Australia to build this colony. Just as in Canada, where you have roughly a little bit more than 4% of Indigenous people and just a little bit less, I think 3.8% of Black people. In Australia, 4% of the population is Black Indigenous in 6 states. So the division of Australia. It's a terrible insult to the very notion, not just of, as we hear in the language here, reconciliation between the white colonizers and the indigenous of the land. No, this is a slap in the face of human rights. Dr. Vibe, Dr. Vibe, let us give perspectives to our brothers and sisters listening here.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Vibe, you are from Jamaica.
Yeah.
I am born in Cameroon.
Yep.
Until the 1960s, and notably the Honorable Senator Jean Augustine coming here, notably in terms of, as nurses and maids, and eventually Africans coming here as diplomats, teachers, and Haitians as well. Until the 1960s, African immigration was not allowed in Canada.
That's correct.
Caribbean people, and when I say Caribbean, I'm not talking about white Caribbeans. I'm talking about Black people from the Caribbean were not allowed in Canada. I'm talking 1960. We're talking 2023. Indigenous Blacks have been rejected of being recognized as people in the Constitution of Australia. Australia, that country people take a flight to go to, for the beach, for the kangaroos and the koalas, for the OC lifestyle. I have a cousin who went to Australia. I don't know if maybe he's going, actually. He's going shortly. Of course, he's not Indigenous Black. He's not going to be seen as a Aboriginal. Aboriginal, for those who don't understand why I have a problem with it, Aboriginal means abnormal. That's where it comes from. That the word construction in terms of Aboriginal is to relate to abnormality. These people look weird. They're half humans. Are they even truly humans? They're part of a missing link in evolution between men, aka white men, and the animal, aka the ape. That's where these terms come from. These are terms from colonization and scientific racism. So, like 2023, and this is in Australia, which is the nation that jails the most children between, I think, ages of 8 to 11 or 12 years old. Does anyone need to take a guess the skin color of those children who are jailed? It's not white with blonde hair and blue eyes. It's Black children of our skin complexion and darker, with big lips and big noses, telling of a direct link to Africa. Black indigenous people have been in Australia since, if I recall, 65,000 years ago. In terms of the migration from Africa to the south of the what we call now the Middle East, India, China, going to Southeast Asia and reaching Australia. It's very it's hard to comprehend, but hard to comprehend. Part of the reason the vote got rejected is where at the beginning there was strong support for the vote yes, called the voice, the yes voters. The realities of the inflation, housing crisis, other crises led to this rejection of majority of Australians voting yes, along the constitutional system that required a strong majority of voting and also a majority of states, 4 out of 6, to vote yes to this amendment to the Constitution. For those who want to understand perspectives, if I'm correct, and our African American friends, please feel free to correct me, changes to the 13th Amendment in 1860 led to Abraham Lincoln basically launching what became known as the civil rights in order to end slavery of Black people in the United States. It's not a small thing. I think maybe looking on the map, our Black Canadians and Black Americans, brothers and sisters, don't exactly think about the fate of Black people in Australia. And I have to be fair, when I say Black people in Australia, there's 2 types of Black people in Australia. There's the indigenous Blacks, aka Aboriginals, and there's the Africans, aka the migrants. They also suffer racism, but it's incomparable to what indigenous Blacks suffer. It's very important to understand this. In the same way as when talking about Israel, there's really 2 types of Black people. There's the Black Jews, Israelis, and there's notably the African migrants. Israeli Black Jews suffer racism. African migrants suffer worse.
Just as before we go on to our last conversation topic, do you think that Black Canadians should be more focused on what's going on with this story compared to our first story?
Absolutely. Because the people in the first story, aka Israelis and Palestinians, they'll never go protesting for the rights of indigenous Blacks in Australia. So far removed from the reality, what's even the connection for? And I don't blame them. I want everyone to understand. I don't blame them. I don't blame Westerners for supporting Ukraine and rolling the red carpet. There's a similarities of values, of culture, and etc. that you want to look at it. And yes, of course, racial connection. It should be for our African states. Notice what happened in 2017. Black people enslaved in Libya. What did African states truly do? Did they send armies to save the people? They didn't. It's pathetic. It's for our Black communities. Notice the great thing that happened. So we're now in October. So a few months ago, regarding notably African migrants sleeping on the streets in Toronto. Black community mobilized. That's what it is. That's what it should be. We come together for our people. And then, yes, welcome to those who want to say that they're allies, who want to stand with us. Black people have always had allies, just to let you know. Malcolm X had the Japanese-American Yuri Yokishima. Brother Martin Luther King, through his LGBTQ mentor, gay mentor, Bayard Rustin, inspired from the freedom marches in India through nonviolence by Gandhi. Brother Nelson Mandela. Indians were also fighting in the ANC and got jailed alongside him. Brother Bob Marley, his music inspired many to stand up and resist. And I was listening yesterday to a documentary about Northern Africans, aka Maghrebis, walk in 1983 against racism in France, from Marseille in the south of France to Paris in the capital. It was to the music of Bob Marley. Marcus Garvey, the greatest Pan-Africanist of all time, Marcus Garvey inspired the resistance of a certain Uncle Ho, aka Ho Chi Minh, leader of Vietnam, who defeated the Japanese, the French, and the Americans. And even though we can't consider him a Pan-Africanist, but he's still a brother, despite the greatest mistake of his geopolitical life, to have helped to the destruction of Libya. Brother Barack Obama definitely was an inspiration, a symbolic inspiration to peoples all over the world when he got elected in 2008. So, we will never reject allyship, but we have to focus on the plight and fate of our people, because if we don't, we will. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, because nobody else, everybody loves Black culture, but nobody wants to be Black. There's a good reason for that.
There you go. Well put, Cesar. Cesar, thank you so much. We've got one more conversation topic, and it came up in my alleged mind while we were chatting. An historic event happened since I think you've been last on the platform. Liberal MP Greg Fergus elected Speaker of the House of Commons of Canada, the first Black individual leader, person to be elected to the House of Commons in Canada. Your thoughts?
I'm very proud, happy for our brother Greg Fergus. I'm very happy because he has been, so FYI, I do know Greg Fergus. Greg Fergus has been a support of mine. He has been not only an inspiration, but also has provided words of advice to me, for whom I'm thankful for. It is historic. It is also symbolic. We have to be mindful of also recognizing that as Speaker of the House, he is to be neutral, and as such, unfortunately, but understandably, he is not to align or stand up necessarily for the Black community per se, as in terms of his role, and we have to be okay with that. It's one step forward. It's a great step for him, but it's also a step for the Black community to say that we have progressed. It is for us, just as I was talking about regarding Obama becoming the first Black president of the United States, and yet he did bomb Libya, aka he bombed Africa. But it is for us to take inspiration of the symbolism, of the historic nature of it, to tell our children, yes, you can. Yes, you can aim high, because by reaching that ladder, that step, it is showing other Black youth and Black adults that by working hard and never giving up. And we know Greg Fergus has been a good trooper for the Liberal Party and for Justin Trudeau. He has been there for many, many years, beginning as a page in Parliament, being in the ropes of the Liberal Party before even becoming an MP. More than once, I and other Black leaders felt he should have been named a minister. It didn't happen. This is what happened. It's historic. Very proud of him. Our organization, North-South Development Roots and Culture Canada, congratulate him. Our CEO, Ketia Peters, did send thanks, congratulations to him. And on behalf of the whole Black community, now I have to be careful because I know some of my Pan-Africanist brothers and sisters, they don't find such to celebrate as, It kind of reinforces white supremacy by just putting a black face. But I disagree with that. I'm very proud of brother Greg Fergus because whether one likes to hear it or not, part of integration is that we have to create our place here and improve that place for our children and our descendants. The world is ours. It is not, I'm going to stay here until retirement and I'm going to go back to Haiti, Jamaica, Congo, Cameroon, Senegal to live out my life there. The vast majority of black people here will live and die right here. They will live and die right here. As I'm getting older, I didn't realize this for some reason. I don't know why I didn't realize this 10, 20 years ago. As I'm getting older, I'm invited to more and more funerals of black people.
Yeah, that's one of the things that happens, my brother. That's one. It used to be something that my parents told me. This person, but now people who I grew up with are passing away.
Yeah.
That hits.
The parents, the uncles, the aunties, our friends, and even some of our friends. In the last month, a brother of our age, early 40s, he died. He's being buried here.
Yeah.
2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks ago, a friend of mine, very close friend since high school, his auntie died. They're not going to bury her body in Haiti. She's going to be buried. She's buried right here. So we have to make our place. And as such, congratulations to each and every one of our sister, of our brother. Whether it makes history or not, whether it makes it to the news or not, we are happy. We congratulate you. But, very important, as at Roots and Culture, we teach our youth, leadership is not just about having a black face on the news, on the newspaper, making history. It's being black and proud, and having a black consciousness about it. We don't need a black face to support white supremacy. The issues are systemic, the institutional, the socio-historical. So yes, congratulations to brother Greg Fergus. He has stood up for the black community. He has been a supporter of Roots and Culture Canada and other organizations. He was notably a support to the creation of Native TV, the first multicultural TV station in Quebec. And for this, he was brought to the ethics committee. So this is to show the character of this brother. So it's important for our people to understand this. Yes, but always black and proud, black consciousness. Keep advancing. It is possible, despite all the challenges. And I face challenges, Dr. Vibe. I know you face challenges, but we have to hold on because our ancestors, through slavery and colonization, through segregation and apartheid, faced far, far, far worse.
Absolutely. We're on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we want now someone to be on our shoulders. So Cesar, I want to say, as always, thank you for taking time to share with us all. As always, what's coming up next for you?
Well, the big thing basically is next week, right?
Yes.
We're going to support brother Ryan Knight. I don't want to say too much, but I will be in Toronto.
Oh yeah, I hope they're ready for you. I'm looking forward to it because I'm just gonna sit back. Maybe I'll buy some food and I'll just eat and enjoy while you bring some great Cesar knowledge. They got to be ready for you. And here we go. Leslie McEwen is giving you claps.
Thank you.
Another great,
Thank you,
great
elder sister. Thank you.
Yes, she's a great elder in the Black community. Need to get you back on, Leslie. Now, actually, I'm going to call you either today or tomorrow. So get ready, get ready. Oh, here's another person here. David Legrand Kodu. Keep up the good work, Doctor. It's Dr. Vibe, not Vibe, but I'll take that. And Cesar. So I don't know if you know him. Maybe you know him.
Dr. Vibe, that message is coming from Paris in France. This is one of my friends from Paris in France. It's right now past midnight for him, and he's here. This is how we create that global Black community.
Global.
My Pan-Africanism, universal Pan-Africanism. He's following you from the link of the Dr. Vibe show that I shared on my Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you. And don't worry. People have called me worse, David. So don't worry. They've called me worse. You're here. Follow and bookmark it, or you'll see before we leave how you can follow the show and get updates. So before we went there, Cesar, his email address, presidentrootsandculturecanada.com, Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. Anything else other than coming to Toronto next week, and we're speaking and get to meet?
Yes.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Brother Dr. Vibe. Thank you to everyone, brothers and sisters. Please share Dr. Vibe and reach ourselves and reach yourselves. So many challenges, and this Israeli-Palestine conflict has to be a reminder about the silence of the issues in our communities. I mean, yes, George Floyd happened and all that, and it was a big haha, but we see the white lash, the reversal, the resistance and all that. Yet we see with this conflict what happens. Let us keep learning. Let us keep improving. Let us create stronger Black communities.
I would also, before you, Lisa, I think some of the energy I'm seeing by Blacks with their passion about what's going on in Israel and Palestine, I think needs to be challenged to our own situations, our brothers and sisters situations in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country, around the world. Just
a big reason too many of our brothers and sisters, and I look notably in the African community here, a big reason why too many of our brothers and sisters don't show the same passion for Black issues is because the Israel-Palestine conflict is strongly linked to religion. So I'll give you an example, and our brother David from France knows this one very well. Try to explain to non-Black people that in France, when the issue of the Rohingya, so I'm giving you another conflict here, the issue of the Rohingya happened in Myanmar, aka Burma, aka Rohingyas, Muslims, being killed by Buddhists, due to colonization, but really for land claims. The government of France strictly forbade people from going to that part of the world because it's so dangerous and all that. Yet there is a Black Frenchman who became famous by the name of Moussa. He went over there to support the Muslim Rohingyas in the name of Islam. Guess what happened? He got arrested. And suddenly messages about free Moussa who went to save the Rohingyas. So then here I am. I'm like, can you please show me the white Arab Moussa who is risking his life in Nigeria, in Congo, in Somalia, it's unfathomable.
Well, Cesar, as we are going along the journey of life, this is one of the phrases I'm beginning to use a lot. The more I know, the less I understand. I'm beginning to say that more often. So you have my permission to use it. Okay. As always, to you and your family and the people you serve, may you give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. As always, a pleasure. And David is saying, real story, cream. So maybe, you know what, David, you're in touch with Cesar. Maybe one day we could get you on the show.
Yes.
And make it, because this is one of the things that Cesar and I have talked about. We want to make it a global conversation.
Yes.
On Sunday afternoons. And when we finish today, I've got some interesting news about someone maybe coming back to Black Canada Talking, who I think was watching today. But certainly, so you know how to get in contact with Cesar. I am more than happy to have you come on and bring your lens, because the more we know, the more we need to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David is a very knowledgeable brother.
I would love to have him on.
I will let him introduce himself, but he works in a field where we don't hear often of Black people.
So even more reason.
It's not sports, it's not religion.
You're kidding me. You mean there's people other than that, the Black people that do things other than that? You're kidding me.
Yes.
All right. We'll let it go at that. You take care, my brother. And again, looking forward to seeing you next week. Keep the faith. All right, family. There is Cesar bringing knowledge as usual. There's his contact information. So like to say much thanks for everyone to tuning in live or on the replay today. Again, a few things before we check out today. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook. Not on Facebook. Well, on Facebook you can do, but most importantly, go on the YouTube channel, look for the Dr. Vibe Show, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification button. One thing, subscribe, but also notifications when you get notified of upcoming conversations. Follow and like the Dr. Vibe Show, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, if you want to advertise your business or service on the Dr. Vibe Show, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you are watching this before 9 a.m. Eastern time on October 16th, we have Carolyn Nicole, a certified nutritionist, holistic nutritionist, who comes on. She works at a company called the Energy Shack Juice Bar. She'll be on tomorrow morning where I am right now, 9 a.m. Eastern, talking about the diabetic pandemic, especially for whether I'm sure if you are Black, either yourself or you know someone who has been impacted by diabetes. She has a number of good solutions that work in regards to getting off diabetes, because if you have diabetes, it impacts so many areas of your life. Also, just again, Wednesday, October 18th from 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time to 8:02 Eastern Time, Brand Sponsorship Summit hosted by Mario Armstrong. Go to getsponsorshipmoney.com/brand sponsorship. It only costs $23.21 US, which is like $30 Canadian. I don't know how much that is euros. Please forgive me. But if you've ever had any thought about what's this sponsorship thing all about, and can I make money from it? He is a great person to get knowledge about. He has garnered, him and his wife and their team have garnered over $4 million of sponsorships with brands like Capital One, Beats by Dre, Zenny Glasses Eyewear, Capital One, I said already. So, and I'm actually going to be on one of the panels. So self-promotion, but promotion for the big team. All right. So that is done. You've seen along the bottom, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and on the website, the drvibeshow.com. And I think we got one more comment here. We're going to slide it in. David is saying it will be a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. Okay, get in contact with Cesar so we can make that happen. Ideally, well, Cesar probably won't be able to do it next week, but in 2 weeks' time, if you're available at this hour, we'd like to bring you on the Dr. Vibe Show. So the invitation is open. Please get in contact with Cesar, David. And thank you for checking out the conversation. Share it with your friends, please. Share with people with you who you know, and get them to like what we do. All right? So as always, I want to close out with this. And thank you, everyone, for watching live on the replay and also listening on the replay. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.
Yeah. Listen.